Hey folks, this is Kelani. It's almost here. We only have a little teeny weeny bit longer to wait for patch 8.1. This time next week we'll all be frolicking through the fields of Ankawi, dreaming of our next Azerite armor piece from the brand spanking new Azerite armor vendor. It's going to be wonderful. I mean, I guess it could be if almost everything in Battle for Azeroth wasn't getting punched full of holes from the community. The number of really long, constructive posts I've seen recently which shine a light on all of the issues that have cropped up in pretty much every single system in Battle for Azeroth has been a real crazy ride. I love reading through well put together posts, but it really hurts when so many of them are pointing out flaws and holes and huge problems with the game. And it hurts because most of them, for the most part, are right. We're in dire straits right now, but hopefully we can work towards an enjoyable experience one step at a time, and patch 8.1 will hopefully be one of those first steps. But I do find it a little strange that with patch 8.1 so close, we're still seeing a few changes here and there on the PTR. Just recently we got confirmation of the list of abilities that will be jumping back off the global cooldown to help keep gameplay running smoothly for several classes. We saw one of the new islands on the PTR, so we could have a look at that. The entire loot system for island expeditions has been turned upside down. Paragon reputation box rewards were thrown into the mix, and then there's also some class changes to go alongside everything else. My main concern is that none of these changes will have any real testing time, but when you stop and think about it, even if these bits and bobs were applied to the PTR a week or two ago, that still leaves barely any time for the changes to get some decent testing, for Blizzard to also get a good chunk of feedback from that testing, and then to iterate on the changes in case anything wasn't sitting well. That just tells me that the dev team almost has zero intention of making any changes to some of this stuff because there isn't enough time to do anything different, even if they wanted to listen to the community. That's probably one of the biggest reasons we're in this mess to begin with, but let's have a look at what news we have to talk about regarding the topics I just listed, starting with abilities coming off the global cooldown. For the most part, these are just movement-based abilities by the look of things. We have Vengeful Retreat for the Demon Hunters, Wild Charge for the Druid Specs, Charge for both Arms and Fury Warriors, Intercept and Dragon Charge for Protection Warriors, Ignore Pain is also in there for the Prot Warriors, and then the last one is Harpoon for Survival Hunters. These are the abilities that are confirmed to be moving off the global cooldown at this point, so I guess every movement ability is following the example of Disengage. It makes sense to me, really. These abilities are often used in very clutch situations. Having to wait even half a second for your GCD to finish can really mess up any fancy tricks you were trying to pull off, but it also really just doesn't feel great. We'll have to wait and see what the future holds for every other ability, still shackled by the dreaded global cooldown, but at least they're still looking into things and taking abilities back off the GCD where it makes sense. I have a funny feeling that most offensive cooldowns will be staying where they are for now, and will probably be the last abilities to come off the GCD if the entire thing was reverted, because that seemed to be their main focus when making these changes in the first place. But ultimately, this seems to be another victory for anyone who hates the GCD changes. Blizzard has taken another step down, admitting that yes, alright, some of these abilities really don't work too well if they're put on the GCD, so let's take them back off. A few more steps in that direction, and who knows what abilities could be next. And then there are also some pretty hefty changes to the way that island expeditions work. Right now on live servers, every monster you kill contributes to your loot table, so if you kill pirates you can get pirate loot. If you kill elementals you can get elemental loot. That's what we figured anyway, and Blizzard very recently confirmed that that is indeed the case. This creates a really weird scenario where it's actually pretty difficult to go after any item in particular, but patch 8.1 will be changing how islands reward loot entirely. When patch 8.1 goes live, islands will reward loot based upon the monsters on the island you're running and nothing else. So if you have pirates on your island and you ignore them completely for the entire run, you can still get pirate loot. If you have Mogu and Tolvir and pirates and elementals on your island, regardless of how you finish the island, what you kill, how you get your Azerite, you have a chance to loot from any of those monsters' loot tables just by finishing the island expedition. You don't have to do anything specific, you don't have to hunt down rares or even specific monster types, you don't have to do special events or quests. All you have to do is A, finish the island, and B, hope you get something cool. On one side, that makes islands much easier to think about. All you have to worry about is winning, which is kind of weird because that mindset is what would have gotten you 0 loot so far in the expansion, but now all you have to do is win, and you can get a variety of goodies without really trying. If you want to mine Azerite, you go right on ahead. If you want to mass pull and AoE everything down, that's fine too. The faster you win the island, the better. On the flip side, there's now absolutely zero choice involved in islands and their rewards. You can't target anything at all because you have no control over what monsters spawn on your island. And you don't even have any control over what island you get when you sign up. If a monster type doesn't spawn, you can't get loot from that specific table. That's it. So the available loot for any given island expedition relies entirely on RNG and monster spawns, and getting an item from that RNG loot table is also simple RNG. I really think this change is a double-edged sword. Sure, it makes getting rewards from islands a lot simpler and more streamlined, so more people might be a little more interested in playing islands, maybe, but you're also increasing the reliance on RNG in an expansion where everything is RNG and people despise it. Probably not the best idea in the world, but that's how island expeditions will reward loot going forward, and we don't have any time whatsoever to actually test it or for Blizzard to make any changes, so that's what we're getting whether we like it or not. On a brighter note, anyone who's been hoping for some cool new toys should be happy to know there's quite a few on offer from the new Paragon reputation boxes coming in patch 8.1. When you get to Exalted with the BFA reps, you'll be able to earn more rep beyond that towards these Paragon boxes. Every 10,000 rep you earn past Exalted will net you a shiny goodie box, which will contain a handful of Azerite and war resources, but also have a chance to contain some cooler items too. These rewards are faction specific, so the Hordes will get different stuff when compared to the Alliance. The two neutral factions obviously have their same stuff on offer. From the Champions of Azeroth supply box, there's a chance to get a new firework launcher toy, which should hopefully look really cool. The Tortolan box can contain a bowl of glowing pufferfish, which I assume is some form of dessert, or Kojo's master matching set, which looks like a larger version of the Shell game matching world quest, which could actually be quite a bit of fun. Now for the Horde side, the Zandalari Empire box has a dinner bell toy, which when used summons a bunch of little Ravasors to eat the corpse of a fallen ally. Delightful, that one. Talanji's expedition boxes can contain a bat pet, as well as a toy that transforms you into a blood troll for 50 minutes on a 1 hour cooldown, so if you missed running around as a Mada, go farm some rep in 8.1. For the Voldenai, you can get a buffet toy to set out a feast that probably doesn't do anything meaningful, and then there's a Words of Akunda toy, which will probably grant you your Akunda name from the questline with Akunda, Akunda the Exalted, and all those options, as well as Mira's Jukebox, which sounds like it could give you the option to listening to some cool little songs about Mira's favourite little pets. Then for the Honor Bound, we have a Rallying War Banner, which could be really cool or really boring, depending on what it does, and also the Rank 3 recipe for the new contract with the Honor Bound reputation. Over on the Alliance side, I think we actually have fewer items sadly, but we'll start with the 7th Legion, seeing it's a mirror of the Honor Bound. You get the same Rallying War Banner and the Rank 3 recipe for the 7th Legion contracts. The Proudmoore faction has a music box which will probably play some of your favourite tracks from BFA, as well as an Albatross pet. The Order of Embers has a Raven pet, as well as a Bewitching tea set, which hopefully does something really weird and cool, maybe granting Drust-like costumes or something like that. Storm's Wake boxes have an eel pet and a Glyph of Storm's Wake recipe, which allows mages to turn their elemental a different shade of blue. So it looks like more pets for the Alliance, but more toys for the Horde overall. Maybe a few items will be added in as the patch progresses. I am a little sad there's no mounts in there just yet. I think that was one of the main draws for Paragon boxes in Legion. But as with many other features in BFA, the real pull to do this kind of content seems to be missing from these boxes right now. I will be excited to open each box as I get the rep, but honestly I doubt I'll go out of my way for any of these. I'll just keep chugging along with the emissaries as I have been for a while now, and when I get a Paragon box, I get a Paragon box. Cool. And then the last thing I touched on briefly was some class changes. I wouldn't really expect the dev team to stop making class changes just because we're getting close to the end of a PTR cycle. I mean, that's usually the last thing they do anyways, which is kind of crappy really, isn't it? One of the most important parts of playing this game, your class and its abilities and how everything works together, and they leave it for the very last second where they can't really go back on what they've done and we don't really have time to test anything. But anyway, it looks like Warriors will be having several Azerite traits played around with. Affliction Warlocks will see a little nerf to Unstable Affliction, Shadow Priests will be able to spam Power Word Shield, and a handful of other minor changes, but the real reason I wanted to bring this up is for the Rogues. Shuriken combo seems to have disappeared from Subtlety's spell spellbook. If you're a rogue, you probably know that this change, if it actually gets pushed through on Tuesday, will mean Mythic Zul is going to be a lot more interesting after the patch. Losing that one passive is a huge nerf for sub, especially on fights like Zul, so that's a pretty massive change overall, which makes me question why it was made in the week leading up to the patch going live. There's some strange decisions at play here for sure, but hopefully they just need to catch up with content and then we're smooth sailing from here. That's what I tell myself anyway. I think we're making progress. I think we are, but so many of these changes totally fall under the category of this is how it should have been at launch. We've had to wait several months to get to a point we should have been at in August. Island expeditions should never have had such a convoluted loot system. Utility and movement abilities should never have been added to the GCD. Honestly, Paragon rep boxes should probably have been in there from the start as well, seeing as we were used to them in Legion already. But what do you think about more abilities coming off the GCD? How about those huge Island expedition loot changes? Do you think you would be more inclined to play through them knowing that now all you have to do to get loot is win, or are you just not interested in them no matter what they do? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon. You can see their names floating by on screen. If you want to join these lovely guys and gals, you can find a link in the description below. Remember to leave a like just below the video before you leave, and if you want to see more, make sure to subscribe. But apart from that, thanks for watching folks, good luck and have fun, and as always I will see you next time.